From Camp Sherman to the sieges of Metz. Dawnlight spills over an empty parade ground at Camp Sherman. Young soldiers drill, freight trains clatter, troop ships leave harbor. Overlaid images, stamped orders, tired faces, hastily packed gear trace a line from small-town America to the blasted landscapes of France. The 379th Infantry Regiment was born in the last months of the First World War, reformed in the interwar years, and remade into a hard-hitting combat regiment in World War II. It would earn a fearsome reputation in the bitter fights around Metz, a reputation that would forever brand its men as the Iron Men of Metz. Origins and World War I, 1918. Constituted on September 4, 1918, as part of the National Army, the 379th was assigned to the newly organized 95th Division and organized at Camp Sherman, Ohio. The rapid pace of demobilization after the armistice limited the regiment's training and its opportunities for frontline action in 1918, but those first months established a regimental identity and connection to the communities of the American heartland. Between the wars, reserve life and roots. In the 1920s, the 379th was reconstituted in the organized reserve and allotted to Oklahoma. Across the interwar decades, the regiment existed as a citizen soldier formation, part training unit, part civic organization, maintaining traditions, drill schedules, and the professional knowledge that would be vital when war returned. Its headquarters and recruiting areas shifted, but the regimental colors and esprit de corps endured. Reactivation and training, 1942 to 1944. Ordered into active federal service on the 15th of July, 1942, the 379th reformed at Camp Swift, Texas, as part of the 95th Infantry Division's transformation into a modern U.S. Army combat team. Intensive combined arms training followed, live fire exercises, night attacks, river crossings, and mountain warfare preparation that would prove essential in the fractured terrain of eastern France and the German borderlands. Officers and NCOS drilled recruits into disciplined, aggressive riflemen ready for the European fight. Into France. Northern France and the approach to Metz, 1944. The 95th Division landed in France in September 1944. And the 379th moved quickly into the Lorraine battle area. The regiment's first months in the theater saw hard tactical patrolling and positional fighting as Allied armies closed on Metz, a fortress city ringed by modernized forts and a web of obstacles that transformed the campaign into a siege. The Siege of Metz. Forts, flanks, and fire. Metz was not a single battle, but a series of bitterly contested assaults on concrete forts, bunkers, and fortified villages. The 379th took part in the division's operations against the forts of Metz, including actions near Fort Jeanne d'Arc, Fort Driant, and the Gravelotte sector, positions that were skillfully manned by German veterans and fortified to a degree the Americans had seldom encountered. The fighting was close, technical, and costly. Infantry had to coordinate tightly with engineers, armor, and artillery to reduce casemates and clear subterranean defenses. Personal stories, men in the mud, company histories, and veteran testimony bring the regiment's story down to a human scale. Small unit actions, patrols that turned into pitched firefights, and acts of stubborn leadership define the 379's combat character. Stories such as those of Private Charles R. Hughes and Captain Lawrence T. Burdick, men who fought and were wounded in the Metz sector, show how courage and sacrifice shaped the regiment's reputation. Winter fighting, river crosses, and the Ardennes threat. As autumn gave way to winter, the 379th continued operations into the Rhineland. When the German Ardennes offensive forced large-scale troop movements across the front, units like the 379th found themselves preparing defensive positions, repelling probes, and later returning to the offensive as German momentum faltered. The regiment's campaigns are recorded as Northern France, Rhineland, Ardennes, Alsace, and Central Europe, campaign credits that reflect the unit's sustained presence during the most intense phase of the Allied push into Germany. Final push, Central Europe and occupation duties. In 1945, the 379th joined the general advance into the heart of Germany. Towns fell, supply routes were severed, and thousands of prisoners were taken as the Wehrmacht collapsed. After VE Day, the regiment performed occupation duties, securing bridges, guarding supply areas, and assisting in the complex transition from war to peace before returning to the United States. Post-war reorganization and reserve service. The 379th was reactivated within the organized reserves on 12 February 1947, headquartered at Hot Springs, Arkansas, before later moving to Little Rock. Over the following decades, the regiment transitioned into training and institutional roles as the 95th Division shifted into a training division. Reorganizations in 1959, the late 1960s, and the 1990s altered battalion structures, but the regimental lineage and motto, ad finem, to the end, remained a binding thread. Identity and legacy. The 379th's wartime nickname, Iron Men of METZ, came from the scale of the foe they faced and the gritty persistence with which they fought. The regiment exemplified the transformation of citizen soldiers into hardened combat units, from their constitution in 1918 through reserve life to the brutal sieges and river campaigns of 1944 to 45. Their decorations, campaign streamers, and the stories of small units and individuals preserve a record of sustained courage under fire. Remembering the 379th. The 379th Infantry Regiment's history is a reminder that regimental identity is shaped as much by small actions and hard marches as by grand strategy. Their story is one of ordinary Americans transformed by extraordinary circumstance, trained at home, tempered overseas, and forever linked to a name whispered with respect by veterans and historians alike: the Iron Men of METZ.